So very clearly with the Eight of Cups being the overall here, I think that the both of you may have considered at one point on whether or not it's worth investing into emotionally anymore, thinking about moving on, wanting to walk away. Now, I don't think that the other person can, how do I say this? They may be feeling drained, like they have given everything that they possibly can on an emotional level here, but they can't move on. They just can't do it. With the Eight of Swords coming through, with the Wheel of Fortune, this may be one of those things where you're looking at it like, okay, so things are going to be changing here. Now, with the Tower, you know, I kind of feel both here. This can either be a good or a bad situation, but we're talking about things that are drastically changing between you and another person, and it may be because of them having like a change in their own personality almost, whether you're dealing with male, female, fire sign, right? Now, it could be that something that this person does is going to shock you. It's something that you didn't expect from them. And it may be that they are ready to actually move on, where at some point in the past they couldn't do it. Maybe now they're finding, you know, something else in their life because, you know, with the King of Wands, yeah, you know, I don't really see him as a type that likes to settle down. And that may be the shock for you, that they're actually like kind of, you know, moving on. The thing is, though, is that the truth here is that they can't let it go with the Four of Pentacles. So there may be a point here in the relationship where things like drastically change with this person. Now, we may be clearing away all the bullshit from the past, and absolutely we could be starting over here, but the thing is we're still looking at the Eight of Cups, so it's like we're on a very fine line. And I think that that goes for both of you. Now, on the other hand, with the Tower, absolutely, that could be you making the shocking, abrupt change here. You know, and they may be looking at you as being more open to, you know, trying something different in your love life. And they may be looking at you as the King of Wands. It just depends on the situation here. But the thing is that they can't let it go. I think that for Scorpio, you know, especially being all or nothing, I think it would be easy for you to say, okay, well, fuck it. You know, then it wasn't realistic to begin with. So let's clear it away. But I think that with the Three of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles, there is an attempt to try to work on things. And a lot of that is because they can't, I think that this is more so that they just can't let it go. They can't let you go. They can't let the relationship go. But I do think that the both of you are pretty tired in terms of, you know, everything that you've been giving emotionally to this. Now, coming out, the High Priestess. This may be about some things that you've been keeping to yourself, and you may be wanting to kind of clear that up. That, or you may feel like there are some things that they are not letting you know about. And it's not necessarily a bad thing here, but, you know, when you look at the High Priestess, you're talking about like, I know, like I know, like I know. You just don't have the facts to support it, but you are trying to find that with the Ace of Swords. And having, you know, this new start here, but also some clarity in terms of, you know, the way the both of you are feeling. The Fool can suggest here that it's either too much of a risk, or we're getting ready to go ahead and just, you know, let go of everything that has happened before, and let's take, you know, a totally new path here. But being able to do it without holding on to anything from the past. You know, because if you're wiping the slate clean, then yeah, this person needs to let go of anything that they're hanging on to. But I also think that they just can't let you go. And I think that if they start to change and they become, you know, more dependable here, I think that you're going to be more open to having a new beginning here. And I think that the more that they give, the more that you start to reevaluate your investment. And I think that you may see that it's worth doing that. You know, we haven't seen everything just yet, right? Especially with the Hangman. So I think that with the High Priestess and the Ace of Swords, again, we're kind of like clearing up the things that have been kept hidden. And this person very clearly is wanting to kind of like clean the slate here and start again. I don't think that they think it's a risk in any way. I think that if you have been keeping things to yourself, the minute that it kind of clears up, I think it's going to be easier for this person to say, okay. Now, the same thing can be said for them though too, because the both of you here are needing to do this leap of faith, so to speak. But with the Hangman and then looking at the King of Pentacles, I think that, you know, you've been trying to see things from a different perspective when it comes to this person and how dependable they are. And what they're willing to provide here in terms of the relationship. I don't think that this has to do with money. For some of you, yeah, it could. But that's small detail to me. Because this, to me, is more about the emotional investment that's been put into this. And whether or not it's even worth it anymore. But clearly it is. And you may be in this place of waiting on them to kind of like figure out what they're willing to give, right? But it's only after there's been some honest, you know, truthful communication and things being cleared up. Now, after this, I think that the Three of Cups in this situation isn't going to have to do with, you know, third-party situations. You're showing the Ace of Cups. And with the Three of Pentacles above that, I think that this is what you've been working toward. You know, a new beginning where the emotions and the emotional fulfillment is renewed. You know, and we can kind of start again. And with the Three of Cups, I think that, you know, this is obviously the connection with you and this person, but I also think that it's something that is supported possibly by other people, which can be the case, right? But I think it's a good thing. I think that, you know, there's going to be like a period of like getting together here and kind of enjoying each other's company, having the kind of like, you know, reunion, so to speak. It's a little bit different than the Six of Cups. But it feels good because the beginning is supported. But I also think that other people would be supporting, you know, this person too in terms of being able to give to this, because with the Six of Pentacles and even with, you know, the King of Pentacles here, it looks like this person is really wanting to show that they can give what's necessary to kind of work on this situation. They may be giving more than what they have in the past. And that may cause you to kind of look at, you know, things differently, right? So taking stock of everything that's being given by this person here and looking at it and going, you know, maybe this is worth it, right? I would be careful about anybody that you choose to flirt with, okay? I think that if you are flirting with anybody and you're being lighthearted about the situation, the other person needs to know this, because I think that they may take things a little bit too seriously, possibly. Now, for those of you who are single, yeah, I think that some of you may be meeting somebody new. With the Ace of Pentacles here, we're talking about, you know, a new beginning here where it's a little bit more than just like hooking up and having fun. And clearly somebody has a really strong connection with you with the Two of Cups, for sure. The thing is that you're okay, I think, and it's so interesting how this is kind of like showing up with the Four of Cups. I think that you're okay with kind of like, you know, the routine with this person. I don't think that, you know, you're wanting to take this anywhere. Now, this could be, you know, reverse situation here, and maybe you need to be a little bit more lighthearted and not take things so seriously, right? So we can flip the script on this. But like I said, with the Sun and looking at the Ace of Pentacles, for some of you, if you're not willing to go all the way with committing to a new person or a new relationship, be careful about leading this person on. And it's not that you're intentionally doing this. I think that you're trying to kind of make it clear that you're not interested in anything other than the way things are. But with the Sun, I think that it's either you or the other person here that thinks that this is the greatest relationship that ever was, right? But with the Four of Pentacles, again, It looks like we start off a new relationship thinking that it may go somewhere and there's definitely a connection, but it, you know, like I said, it could be that with the Four of Cups here, you're just happy with the on and off kind of like connection that you have with them. But with the Four of Pentacles, it's not enough. Like, it's not enough. There's not enough passion there. Somebody needs to try a little bit harder. And the thing is even if this relationship doesn't have a definition with the Nine of Pentacles, they'll take what they can get. But you may be dealing with somebody who may become a little bit obsessed. Now, if that's you, Scorpio, again, flirt would be saying be lighthearted about this. This doesn't need to be a serious relationship right now. You know, especially if there are times where this person looks like they just aren't interested anymore, right? And you may be trying and you may feel like they just don't feel it. And then the King of Pentacles, somebody's being a little bit too pushy about it. And again, the goddamn King of Pentacles, what the fuck? Who is he? Where is he coming from? Oh my God, Scorpio, what the hell is going on? The Fool. The Fool is saying that. I think that for a lot of you, this may be one of those situations where, and again, it's either going to be you or the other person, okay? Somebody may be looking at this relationship going, yeah, you know, this is something that is a little bit, you know, more realistic than most relationships, but despite the connection, they may be wanting to move on to something else. That, or it's going to be about, we've taken a new path in our relationship, here comes this opportunity, and there's this really good connection with the Two of Cups. When you move into the Ace of Swords, you're talking about trust. So I think that there may be an issue of trust if somebody is acting like they're losing interest and you're falling into this kind of routine here where you're questioning on whether or not you can trust your own feelings. You know, or like I said, this could be about the other person here, but somebody is looking at this connection as the end all to be all. Seriously, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. But like I said, with the King of Pentacles, right, and this one in particular is going to be about somebody who's being a little bit too pushy, and that may be causing the loss of interest, especially if they're pushing you to commit. But again, we can flip the script on this, but either way, if you're flirting with somebody right now, be careful about who you're flirting with. And if you're getting caught up in a situation where it's getting a little bit too real for you, you need to lighten up. You need to lighten up the energy and don't push this person to do something that they're not comfortable with. Otherwise, the relationship and even starting this would have been for nothing. You know, maybe we need to just give it a little bit of time to build up the passion, right? I'm surprised Temperance didn't show up. Yeah, there's a need to seriously have a conversation before this relationship ends. But it may be headed that way. Oh, okay. With the Wheel of Fortune here, we're talking about this relationship, I think, definitely going through ups and downs, but it starts off here where there is another turn of events, so to speak, within the relationship where things are really good, especially with the Nine of Cups. We're happy. And there's that emotional fulfillment and getting everything that you want. But this is, you know, more than just, it's almost like the Ace of Pentacles, but the thing is that you just really love being around this person. They love being around you. And, you know, again, there's a lot of happiness there. But then you move into this place with the Seven of Swords where all of a sudden the connection is lost. But with the Devil, is that because of somebody that is giving into their own temptations and maybe doing something that they shouldn't be doing? That, or, you know, somebody who's very lustful just doesn't do it for you, right? You know, it's one of those things where we may be lacking like physical attraction, but what I worry about is, you know, this could show possibly deceit, you know, but clearly there's no conversation between you and this person. And I always look at this as an unspoken truth. Something needs to be said here, but you're not physically connecting. You're not mentally or emotionally connecting anymore. Somebody may be tempted to do something that, you know, isn't good here with the Devil. And with the Seven of Pentacles, you move into this place where this person just isn't trying anymore. So the Seven of Pentacles for me reminds me of, when we get into a relationship where people suddenly change. They don't want to try to get your attention anymore. They don't want to put in the effort to, bring up the passion or the emotional connection. They just get lazy and it's like, oh yeah, whatever, right? And with the Ten of Swords, this may cause the ending of the relationship on top of this problem here. But you may be in a place where you're considering maybe this needs to be over with, but it would be, a little bit too painful, right? So clearly somebody had to apologize for something here in the past, and that's why there's this turn of events and things look really happy. But are they apologizing and then falling back into the same kind of pattern here? Okay, yeah, with the Devil and then the Emperor, this is somebody that has like a passionate streak. And I think that they may be going after things that they shouldn't be. I don't necessarily see cheating in this situation, but I think that you're talking about somebody here who is wanting to act on the passion that they may be feeling, or they may feel like they are lacking from you. The Devil would show the temptation to do something that they shouldn't. Right? But where is the problem here? Did they lose a passion for you? Or are you losing the passion for them? Yeah, and then there's your heart-to-heart conversation. So I think that, there is an attempt here to try to discuss the situation. Now, with the Two of Wands, we're talking about, flirting, getting to know each other a little bit better, and maybe those conversations lead to passion being restored in the relationship before it comes to an end. That, or maybe if we end the relationship here and go our separate ways, maybe you come back together with this person and you start having these conversations. That, or we're talking about somebody who is ending the relationship because they want to get to know someone else. And that could be the case. But before it gets to this point, I think that there needs to be the heart-to-heart conversation, because this doesn't need to happen.